Welcome back to my YouTube channel, Self Automation Tracing. So guys, today we will learn about basic understanding of locators in Selenium. Because if you want to automate our web application testing, so you should aware about the locators, which type of locators and how many locators we can identify in our web applications, right? Without locators you cannot automate anything, right? So let's get started. So guys, many of you guys are aware about some text box, some actions like some click, type, input box, chat box, like this kind of actions, right? So these kind of actions you want to perform, you want to automate these things, so you need to have a locators, so in which you have to find out the locators. So I'm gonna show you that which type of locators, right? So I will just simply open the browser and just type So guys, if you want to find out the locators, just simply go to any website, just right click on over there and click on inspect. So inspect will allow you to show you the some code which is written by on your web applications, right? So here you can see that there are some code, HTML code related to this website. That's right. So this website is built by rating or number of HTML code, right? So here we can say that it's a DOM, right? We can say that it's a DOM. So DOM is nothing but a document object model, right? So DOM is a programming API for HTML and XML documents. So it defines the logical structure of documents and the way a document is accessed and manipulated, right? So this is, we can call it DOM. And what are the elements located? So what are the elements, right? So here we can say that it's a text box, right? This is a text box, input box. Here we can say it's a drop down, right? Again it's a drop down, right? Again it's an input box. Here we can say it's a checkbox, and here it's a sign up button. So if you want to automate these things, you need to find out the correct locator for particular actions, right? If I want to click on this button, I need to first find out the locator elements for the particular sign up me buttons, right? So how to find out that? Let's see. So here I want to located this name, first name, input box, right? So I will simply click on this icon, right click on a text box, right, and simply click on inspect, right? So it will simply show me the correct path, correct element for the particular locators. So before we start that, how many locators we have? So we generally have in Selenium, we generally have so many locators, right? So right now we will understand that how many types of locators in Selenium. The first one is the ID. Second one is its name. Third one is its class. Fourth one is its link text. Fifth one is its partial link text. Sixth one is a CSS Selector. Seventh one is a expert. So guys, here in the expert is most used by locators and element locators in the Salesforce automation testing, right? So let's see, we are going to see that all locators one by one, right? Let's see. So first it's a ID, right? If you want to find the ID, so here itself you can see that it's an input box. This is the first name in input box, and you can find over there are multiple elements like ID, class, right, like a name, right? So out of which we do have a ID, class and name as a elements, like a IDE, here's a name, and here it's a class. So we got this elements over here, because we got the ID elements locators, ID class locators, and here is name locators, right? So we are getting three locators, right? So here, if you want to find the correct locator, how do you do that, right? So I will simply just Control F, we click on a DOM and say Control F, right? So here you can see the search HTML, right? So in which I will locate these things, right? So first I will say locate these things. See, simply double slash, I will input, click on ID is equal to single comma over the bracket, and I will write down ID is equal to same with the if you hit these things, click on this, you will find the correct locators. You will find the correct locators for first name, right? If you click on a, if you hit the enter with this locators, this expert, right, you will find the correct expert. So here when I hit these things, it will highlight it that first input box, right? That means it will find the correct locators, right? So here same way, if you want to find the first name by using a name, right, name elements, so I will simply write down a name over here, and I will simply replace, copy this name elements, and I will simply replace, write down here and a comma, right, and I will simply enter the right, hit the enter. It will search me the correct experts, correct elements, right? When I click on a enter button, right, it will show me the here, right? See, it's there is a highlighted over here, right? That means it will find the correct, it's found the correct element locators, right? The same way, if you want to find using a class name, so this is a class name, right? If you find these things, so here again, so you can see the highlighted the first input box, right? When I hit the enter, right, there are, so here guys, you can see that there are three elements they have find using the same class, right? The text will has a right, third one is but I want to see that the correct expand. I want to see the hit only the first input box. So I will simply write down. I should say. So for the ID we are getting only one locator. For the class we are getting a 3. Right? That means this class element, this class locators have a multiple values related to class name. Right? So I will simply replace this element with ID, because for the ID elements it's found only one value, right? So I will simply write down the first name, right? So for the old ID you can see that here's the search results 1 out of 1. So for the class they have search 3 out, right? Let's see, replace these things. When I hit when I try to locate these things using a class name, it's found 3 variables, 3 values for the particular class name. So this class name has a 4 values, 4 input values, 4 elements located, 3 elements located, sorry, understood, right? So guys, here that we have covered the ID, name and class, right? Now let's move to the link test, right? Let's move to find out the next locator, that is a link text and a partial text. So in order to find this locate link text and partial link text, just go to the login.chatbox.com, and here you can find out some link, right? So forward your password link, you use a custom domain link, and there is a privacy link over here. So I will simply click mouse over on a forget your password and right click on inspect. So it will show me the correct path for the forgot your password. So here you can see that they confirm that the forgot your password link, right? You can see the correct expert over here, right? So here you can see that there is a href. So href means either you can locate this you can locate this web element by using a link text or a partial link text, right? So here this is the link text, right? So let's find to the correct link text, right? We simply use these things in our code, that you will find more clarity, right? So now the link text and the partial link text, this both are the same, but link text and partial link text both are quite similar in functionality, and locate the web elements by using the hyperlink text. So we can only use them for the elements containing an anchor text, right? That means between a, right? The anchor text, that's you can see over here, it's a tag with start with a, right? Then you can find out that this is a link text or partial link text, right? Similar to other locator strategies, if multiple hyperlinks with the same text are present on the page, then Selenium will always choose the first one, right? Suppose we need to click on the link as forgot your password, right? So we have to write down simply some code over there, right? So now it's a selector, right? So guys, so you can see that this entire page is built by using a CSS, right? There are multiple CSS connected with this page, then you can check that, right? So if you want to check that you can see that there are multiple code over here. This is related to CSS, right? So how to locate the web element by using CSS selector. So CSS which is cascading style sheet are used extensively to style web pages, and hence can be an effective medium to locate various web elements, right? So these days most of the web pages are dynamic design, right? So it's quite challenging to get the unique ID, name or a class to locate elements, right? So in this type of situations, CSS selector can be a great alternative, as these are very faster compared to the another locator strategy. So the basic things we can use a selector when we try to create a programming, right? So now let's move to the CSS. Now let's move to the expands. That is our last one, right? So how to locate a web element by using the expert attributes, right? So expert uses the XML expressions, right, to locate an element on the web page. So similar to CSS selector, expert is quite useful in locating dynamic elements on a web page. So expert can access any elements present in the web page even when they have a dynamic properties, right? So if you want to find the expert, right, just mouse over here, you can just right click over here and it will show the copy expert, right? You will find a more option like a CSS selector that we have discussed before sometimes. Here's a CSS path, here's the expert, right? If I click on expert, it will copy the expert, right? Now I want to see that which expert they have copied. So I just paste over here and I can see that they have copied the ID attributes, the value it's a forget password link, right? This is our correct expert. They have copied the expert, right? This is the called expert, right? Because right now they are using ID elements, but ID attributes, right? But this is we can say it's a expert, right? So here I have, so till there we have covered this attributes, right, these locators. So now let's get to see this locators and attributes. So we can say it's a attributes in a Selenium, right? Let's get started. So guys, let's get started to create element locators. Different we are going to see that different locators with the example, so you will get a better understanding for this different type of locators, right? So here I will create a locator. So here guys, I will write down a code with a different type of locators, right? So here first, as we know that we have a 7 type of locators, 7 type of elements locators. So simply attributes, 7 type of attributes. So let's get started with a one by one example, right? So first I will write down the string Chrome part is equal to simply this is the location right where our WebDriver is located, right? So I will simply copy that path, so I will directly simply use the path in the system.property. So in the system.property, if you want to initialize Chrome, if you want to invoke the Chrome browser, then you should set the first property, right? So I will write down the set property method. Here there is some code here to write down a Chrome web driver dot Chrome dot driver, right? So here it's a Chrome part, that is a part that we have located over here, right? So simply here I will create a one WebDriver object, that is a driver. So I will create the driver for the Chrome driver, right? So I want to invoke Chrome web browser, right? So I will simply create the object driver, right? That I will create the code for the, you can simply it's ID. I want to check that the IDE attributes. So let's get started to create the locate by ID attribute, right? So the URL going to be salesforce.com, right? So I will make this comment in order to remove the error, right? So now I will simply write down driver dot get, right? So with which I will just simply paste this URL, right? So it will open up a Salesforce.com sign up page, right? Now I want to check that, I want to see the ID locators. So I will simply write down driver dot find. So here guys, you can see that there are two find elements, like to find element commands, right? It's a first find element and second is a find element, right? So the find element is a command, right? So interaction with a web page require user to locate the web elements, right? So the find element command is used to uniquely identify a web element within the web page, whereas the find elements command is used to uniquely identify the list of web elements within the web page. Yeah, there are the multiple ways to uniquely identify a web element within the web page, such as IDE, ID. So which find elements, right? So you can see that so there is some multiple ways to uniquely identify web elements, right? That this is a ID, name, class, link test, partial link test, CSS, and export, right? So simply you can write down the find elements. So I will simply select the find elements, right? So the both the find elements and find elements. So find elements will return a single web element based on the search criteria of the locators, and find elements return all the web elements based on the search criteria. So the only difference is that find elements return a single web element and find elements return all the web elements, right? So I will simply click on the find elements and you simply write down by for which element. There is some different attributes over here, right? Like a class name, CSS selector, ID, link test, name, partial link text, tag name, export, right? So these are the different attributes. So we simply we want to see that, we want to check then the ID. So we'll simply click on the ID. So here you have to paste the ID value, right? So the ID is a tag attributes and you have to give a value of the ID, right? So here where you can see, so we already know that we have opened the developers.salesforce.com website. So here I will just right click over there, it will show me the correct pattern. So here you can see that there is a first name checkbox with ID. The value of the first ID name value is first name, right? So here is a first input boxes and its ID value name is a first name. So I will simply copy that ID value and just go to the here and paste it over here. So what is exactly that I'm doing? So it will go to this website and it will go to this website and it will search this first name value by ID attributes, right? So here we can see that that is a first, right? So moreover we have to look into second attribute, right? So that is name, right? So here I will say that so I will simply mention locator by name right. So the URL will be a same, right? Same URL can use. So same thing which should written over here, driver dot find. Here right now we don't need to write down a get because we have already write down a open up Salesforce application. We already hit this URL. So this URL, or you can say this web application will be open, right? So you have to perform this actions on the same page. So we simply write down the find elements by dot name, right? So here is a name, right? Because if you want to check that, we want to hit that using a elements using a name attributes, right? So name, I will give a name over here, right? So I will again go to this website and check that the name attributes, right? So here I can see that there is a ID attributes, class attributes, and there is a name attributes, right? So here I can easily find out that we do have a name attributes for the last name input box, right? So I will simply copy that attributes and I will simply paste it over here, right? So this will directly find the elements by name, and the name would be a user in the bracket last name, right? So they will simply directly locate this element, right? So now we would move on a class attributes, right? So let's go to class attributes, right? Locate by class attribute, right? The URL would be a same one. If you want to perform this, you want to find the attributes on a same page, right? So again I will write down driver dot find element by dot class name, right? So I will simply write down click on a class name, right? So here I will simply paste the value of the class name, right? So now here we want the class name attributes, right? Simply click on a email input box, and here see that there is clicking on the right click, you can see that we have a email input box, and we have a code over here for the email input box, right? So here we can see that there is a class text field, right? So there is a class text field, right? So guys, we can directly write down a class text field, right? So we simply copy this as error, right? Because we are going to check that we'll find the elements by using a class attributes, right? So I will replace these things and place it over here, so it will perform the actions on this class name, right? So again so this is a link text, right? So link text, right? So now we again go to the locate by attribute. Now the URL would be a same. So again, there is no link text on this. You can see that there is a link text over here. Now you simply click on them, right? You can see that there is a link text over here, right? That is a login link text, right? So I will simply write down code for this links text, right? So URL would be a same. So I will simply write down driver dot find element by dot link text, right? We simply that is a login link text, and simply copy this value, right? So let's make sure that you can always see that the link text with when the tag will start with a, right? So I will simply copy that login text and simply paste it over here. So it will hit the click on the login link text, right? Same way, if you want to use either link text, right, or maybe I forgot to use that link text. So both of the attributes are same, right? So now we will move to the next, that is a CSS, right? CSS attributes. Let's locate by CS as selector, right? It's a CSS selectors. Right guys, so here we can see that we can identify CSS selector, right? So right click on a inspect element, right? Here you can find out the CSS selector. I will simply right click on copy of the correct CSS selector part. So I will simply write down a username, right click over here, find out the correct inspect element, find the correct code for this and username input box. I will simply right click on name of the code and I will simply select copy and click on a CSS selector, right? So here we have a CSS selector attributes, right? Value of the CSS selector. So I will simply write down driver dot find elements by dot CSS selector, right? So simply write down CSS, right? So here I will pass the right. So here we have covered CSS selectors attributes, right? Now we are going to locate the last attributes, that is the expert, right? So locate attribute. The URL will be the same one. So I simply write down a code by driver dot find element by dot expert, right? So guys, here you have to pass an expert over here, right? So how to find an expert, right? Just go to this website. Here you can find an expert for the postal code, right? So we simply right click on this postal code input box. There are many attributes over here: ID, class, name, right? But I want to copy. I want to I want to hit that. I want to find the expert for this particular input box. I will simply right click on this code and select copy and then select the expert, right? So it will copy the expert, right? So I will simply that code paste it over here, right? So here you can see that it's an expert code over here, right? So guys, this is the number of attributes, the number of locators. These are the number of locators, which is you have to make sure you should aware about these things before you start any Selenium WebDriver project, right? Because this is the must things, right? Because without this knowledge of these locators, you cannot find the elements, right? You cannot automate these things. Because if you want to perform any actions on your website, then you should aware about these things, right? So guys, always learn these locators first, right? Then move to the automation testing, right? So guys, today we have covered this basic understanding of locators, right? Thank you so much guys. Bye bye.